Good day and thank you for joining Civilnet. My guest today is a photographer that I'm a big fan of, Ara Oshagan, and I'm so happy to get to meet you and also to get to pick your brains. Welcome to our studios. This is not the first time, but this is the first time for me. First question.
Yes, very happy to be here. Yes.
You were here and went straight to Qarabağ. I know that because I had to wait for you to come back. So tell us more about what was the project? I know you were on a specific mission.
So I went to Qarabağ because there was this project being done in New York it's called Live Documentary. And so this is a new effort to try to connect documentary photography and through technology with live subjects. So as you may know, I did a big project over many years in Qarabağ. And so my work right now of a particular family that I photographed was on display in this one exhibit space. And
are we talking about the Fatherland project?
Yes, the Fatherland book, yes. And so part of the Fatherland book, I spent a lot of time with one family, and I took a lot of pictures of them and sort of try and look at the different folds of what a family is, what a family looks like, what a family means in Qarabağ. And so the idea of this live documentary is that people who are at the exhibit space can look at my photographs of this family, but also interact with them via technology, via a stream.
So was it in Stepanakert, Shushi, where in Qarabağ?
Yeah, so this family is in Stepanakert. So I went to Stepanakert and I set up my computer and things, and I got the family together in front of the computer. And so while New Yorkers were going through the exhibit, they could actually stop by and look at the photos, and speak with the family in the photos.
So basically, you were present at your own exhibition in Qarabağ.
I was virtually, yes, I was present virtually in my exhibit in New York, but through Qarabağ. And so
this is kind of very interesting for me because you take the format of documentary photographer, which is how we know you. However, you bring it to a whole new domain because it's an installation art. This is a technology, based, curated.
Yeah, well, I didn't curate it, but yeah, so this whole idea is to use technology to expand the horizons of documentary, and I was very happy to be involved in that.
Well, this is not very specific to documentary photography.
Yeah, so it could be.
How did you, because also we need to discuss your Genocide Centennial installation in LA.
Yes, yes.
So tell us more about it, then we will bring these together. And
so that's a different project that right before I came to Qarabağ, to Armenia and Qarabağ. We did a permanent, we installed the first permanent Armenian genocide monument in the city of LA, within the borders of the city. There's one in Montebello, there's one in Pasadena now that was installed last year, but now we did one in the heart of the city, right across the street, right across from City Hall. LA County Supervisor Antonovich was very, very happy with what we did last year with the installation, so he asked us, our group, to do a permanent monument. And we wanted to go an artistic route. So we basically brought a rock from Armenia, from the Araratian Tashteren tuff rock, black tuff rock, and it's basically cut in half. And that cut symbolizes the genocide, the disruption that's the genocide. Plus, it was sculpted by Vahak Tomasyan, who's an architect. And part of it is rough, another part of the stone is smooth, so it has the different meanings of the old and the new and the Armenia and the diaspora. So it has multiple level meanings, but what's really interesting to me is that it's in a park, right? So it's a rock in a park, so it blends into the environment, but it's also very conceptual, so it kind of plays on both these things. You look at it, you look at the rock, and then you look at it, it's a sculpture, and it's constantly doing this kind of thing. I think it's very engaging that way.
And your Genocide Centennial installation in Grand Park, which you did in collaboration with another photographer and an architect.
We had a whole group. I mean, it took a village to make that happen. There was 9 of us, including my friend photographer Levon Parian, who we did the portraits with over the many years. And then Vahak, the architect, my wife was deeply involved, Levon's wife, and we had a whole group of people really working full time for a couple of months to make this thing happen. It was huge.
Well, I never really got to ask anyone what was the impact of that, like having the portraits of genocide survivors printed in 3D basically, in such scale. What was the impact, even for a community like the Armenian community in Los Angeles or the non-Armenian community there? What was the impact?
Yeah. So what was very interesting to me was that we're always looking out to show our work outside of the community. That's always been our direction. But what really moved, the Armenian community was very, very much moved by these portraits because it's this immersive space, and they were actually able to connect, a lot of them, with their grandfathers and grandmothers. And people returned multiple times, 2 or 3 times, they would come back. And it's not an easy place because parking is hard, it's kind of out of the way. Even though it's downtown, usually people don't go downtown. So one day, it's a very interesting story, that we were down there cleaning up, and then Vahak said, hey, Ara, there's like a bunch of people wearing black at the top. It was on 3 levels. There's a bunch of people at the top level. What are they doing? And we don't know. So we ran up, and so it was about 40 or 50 people, the descendants of one of the survivor portraits that was there. Arakel Izanyan, who was a Musalertsi and then Anjartsi, and his whole family had seen the portrait, and I wasn't in touch with them, and they had decided one day to show up, 4 generations, stand around the portrait, and get this huge family portrait done.
Whoa.
It was like, whoa, exactly.
Yes.
I was like, Norhima Pushpushkera Noren, whenever I tell the story. And it was this tremendous connection with our past, which means like we're looking for that connection. We're looking for that significant connection to what happened to us or where we came from, And so this installation kind of hit on some of those nerves.
Well, the Genocide Centennial was a good opportunity for a lot of related art cover on the topic created to come forward, to be exhibited. But now the Qarabağ exhibition sounds strange, or I was going to ask you what brought that about. I mean, exhibition about Qarabağ in Los Angeles, this is not so common.
Yeah, well, that was also, there was a certain connectivity there that, sort of, it was experimental, right? Because it was this new technology. Nobody's had ever done this kind of live documentary that I was talking about. Nobody knows about it, right? So it was this sort of experiment that we tried. And there was a connectivity there too, and that was the whole point of the connectivity. What happened was that at some point, some woman in New York is asking questions to this family, right? And she goes, I'm an artist. Any artists in the family? The father of the family, like he plays the accordion and the piano. He goes, yeah, I play. It's like, they're Qarabağis. They're like, yeah, I play. They don't make a big deal out of it. But so the family convinced him to play the piano. And then while he was playing the piano, the woman in New York, who was also a singer, was singing while he was playing. And so we had this intercontinental connection made, through my work and through this connection that we created through technology. It was really amazing. It was really this connection. It's all about this connection. You can do all these kinds of photos and things and artwork, but if you don't connect, if you don't make that human connection, not sure what
it's
you're doing.
It's easily forgotten or not as impactful. Well, when you started in photography as a documentary photographer, did you ever imagine you would reach a point where someone in Stepanakert would be playing the piano and someone in Los Angeles would be singing at a photo exhibition?
No, I didn't even think that 2 days ago. Right before it happened, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It was really amazing. So no, I started into photography without really no expectations, and it was just the direction that I took because it came very naturally to me.
So Eyewitness was your genocide survivors portrait project's name. And also I was reading the Justice Within Armenia petition just today, and you've signed underneath, and it's also the eyewitness phrase comes in. I know these are different stories. One is from 100 years ago, one is now. Do you see any connection?
Yeah, of course. I think if you are going to be an eyewitness to your time or to the event, and you're going to sort of be the witness and make the people around you your witnesses also, which is part of the work we do, right? I think that's the connectivity. And so in Armenia, if we want to see change, we need to witness that change ourselves, first of all, right? You can't just, if you're not involved, you're not connected, you can't just say, oh, things should change, we need better this, better that. but you need to be a witness yourself, impact the process, and then bring people around you who are also witnesses to that process.
What's the impact you think as a photographer, as a documentary, documentarist, as a scientist, as someone who's also studied English literature?
Oh, you know a little bit about my past, huh?
Wikipedia helps. How do you see the impact you personally could have on the upcoming elections? I'm talking about justice within Armenia because, well, at the end, it's made clear that you will witness supervise the upcoming elections in Armenia. Or will make sure that justice is established? Yeah,
so I think the witnessing doesn't have to be like on physical, on the ground witnessing, right? So there's a witnessing that's done. I may do a lot of projects. I may take photographs, and they might not have immediate impact on, say, the taxi driver who drove me down here. He said, there's no direct impact, but when that connectivity is made, right? For instance, in different ways, there is an impact. There's a psychological, cultural impact that art can bring that's much more, it's not immediate, but much more long-term. And so I think when we do these kinds of projects, the witnessing happens through them. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be an electioneer, standing next to the ballot box. But it means...
Well, you could be also.
I could be, maybe, that'll be interesting also. But that means my presence in the process and my contribution in the way that I know, which is through photographs and through different types of installation work, to bring people, to connect people to the issues that are important, is what witnessing really is, right?
So something like the upcoming elections or the past referendum or Electric Yerevan or Khorenatsi, are these developments in Armenia that interest you photographically?
Yeah, very much so. Even though I haven't had a chance to get involved directly, but I know there's a new generation of photographers who are seriously, involved in this kind of work, to photograph, to bring out, to be the actual on the ground witnesses to that, right?
Yes. And going back to justice within Armenia, all the Khorenatsi events that actually were the basis for such an initiative petition. You being someone who's been connected to Armenia for years, going back and forward, working here, understanding and somehow digesting Armenia, representing Armenia as well. How about the diaspora in general? What do they need to understand a little bit more about Armenia, to be more involved, to be more witnesses?
Yeah, as you know, there's a big disconnect between what's happening in the diaspora and what happens in Armenia, and even like there was a war here, and by the time we knew about it, by the time we did anything about it, it was already over, right? So there's a disconnect, which is psychological, which is physical. In some ways, it's perpetuated by both sides, right, between Armenia and diaspora. So I think what's critical is to have, for instance, governmental organizations, which are not just front organizations, kind of like the ministry that we seem to have now, which is kind of just sort of a front to some kind of, I don't know, showcase. It's more of a showcase, but to have real connectivity, right? So bring, like a diaspora ministry should connect like artists in Armenia with artists in diaspora, right? Or organizations who create art to have this cross-cultural initiatives between diaspora and Armenia. There are cross-cultural initiatives between Armenia and Turkey. There's been some artists, curators who've done that.
There's been an effort.
Yeah, there's this effort with Turkey, but there's no effort between Armenia and the diaspora.
That's really you're not the first artist that I speak to and has come up with the same suggestion. An actor from Lebanon, I was saying the diaspora has terrific film directors. Armenia has terrific actors.
Right.
Why aren't we combining forces to have a, all-encompassing Armenian film industry or theater? However, that's not happening.
Or some kind of agency that would facilitate that connectivity, right? And it has to be on the government level, right? It has to be on the government, and it has to be well thought out. It has to be connected to the actual diasporan organizations and Armenian organizations?
Well, I've been asking myself this question and a lot of my guests, that agency we're expecting to happen. Well, the Ministry of Diaspora, which has been renamed just recently.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, it's Ministry of Repatriation, I think now. Repatriation is something else. Well, it has failed in this, you know.
And so, excuse me, repatriation, now that, you know, it's going in a different direction rather than connectivity. So it has to be two ways. This is the critical. My father used to say that Armenian nation is a body that has two lungs, right? An Armenia and a diaspora. And it has to have, you can't have a person with one lung. Each one has to exist. They each have to exist for themselves to create the whole body, right? So it has to be two ways. Now, repatriation means one way.
Direction. So hence my question. Yes. Why would this body or initiative, why is it expected to be created in Armenia and why can't it be created in the diaspora?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, because it doesn't have to be created in diaspora. I mean, in Armenia. It should also be
the
created.
Expectations are.
Yes, because it's a government, right? It's a huge multi-thousand people structure just to create. It's a government. We don't have a government in diaspora. We are very fragmented, as you know. Even in particular communities, like even Los Angeles is a large community, it's very fragmented. İran'ı, you know, the Armenian, the ARF centers are all, like there's a Tashnatsagan center right in the heart of Hollywood, where there's been thousands of Hayastansi immigrants living in that area,
or the
right? But very few actually get involved in that. It's right in the very heart of little Armenia, right there. But there's very little kind of connectivity. So there's all this fracturization in the diaspora, not only physically, but also, like I was saying, psychologically. So it can come from the diaspora, but I think it would be very difficult just because of the resources and the way the diaspora is. It would be easier, or it would be more natural for a government agency. And there is a government agency, right? It was created to do this kind of thing. It just has to function properly, or it has to be rethought, recreated.
And one last question. Mm-hmm. Any new projects coming up? Anything we should be looking forward to?
I just published a book that actually also uses technology. And so I hope to bring that to Armenia next year. It's called, I use augmented reality. So augmented reality is when you can download an app on your phone and you can point it to particular images and things happen on your phone. So in this particular case, it's about a musician. And so you point your app to the book, and then you hear his music. So there's this attempt to bridge image and sound with technology.
Is this Gor Mkhitaryan? Because yes, I know you have a body of work.
Yes, this is Gor Mkhitaryan's book that I just published. And I hope to do an exhibit next time I come back. So I'm trying to set that up this time.
All right, looking forward to seeing it. It should be very exciting. And thank you for coming here today. Good luck with everything, and we also thank the viewers for joining us. I hope you found this conversation as interesting as I did.